Hi there, and welcome to the Leaving Today podcast, the podcast that discusses the Disneyland Resort and the Disney IP in an enthusiastic, informative, and often humorous way. Show notes for this episode and every episode can be found on leavingtodaypodcast.com. If you're listening to us on iTunes or Stitcher Radio, please subscribe and leave a comment. Until then, thank you for listening and enjoy the show.
Well, come on, Wendy. Let's go.
But where are we going?
To Neverland.
Neverland.
All right, guys, let's do this. Hello. My name is Mark, and welcome to the Leaving Today podcast. Sitting to the left of me is the game changer herself, Jess.
Hello.
And to the right of me is the trail master of puppets himself, Udi.
Yo.
And again, my name is Mark, one of the co-hosts here. This is the Leaving Today podcast, episode number 61, if you can believe it. Tonight, we are going to be talking to Disney historian, Disney author, and overall really interesting and engaging fellow named Jim Korkis.
Yeah. Strap up, kids.
It's going to be good.
Yep.
Heads up, this is going to be split into two different episodes. So we have the first one coming, and then a few days later, check iTunes again for part two, because there's just so much content that we had to get through. So yeah. Anyways, we are in the second quarter of 2018. It is Tuesday, May 22nd. And as we were setting up tonight's episode, something got dropped on the Disney Parks blog. Mm-hmm. What was that, guys?
That would be the official release for Galaxy's Edge, or as we affectionately call it here, or I do, Star Wars Land, and Jess calls it a bunch of expletives.
Yes.
So yeah, that dropped, and that is summer 2019, right?
Yes, and then fall for the East Coast.
Late fall.
Oh, late fall.
Late fall. It's very specific. Late fall for Disney World.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. And Pixar Fest right now is still going on full swing, and we hopefully get to experience that this summer because it looks incredible to me. It looks Incredibles 2 to me. Little shameless plug.
Yeah. For your movie. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got Jim Korkis. I know you guys are going to like him. And we have the news. 101 is 101 tonight because there's a lot of content to get through. So we're gonna have the news as well. Tonight's opening question is Marvel Land more important to Disney officials than Tomorrowland?
I think it's a pretty obvious answer.
Is it?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Ladies or no?
Nope.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they're working on everything but Tomorrowland. You look at the schedule. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, if you're anybody, you set things in priority. Yeah. So if Tomorrowland's a priority, it's a priority. It goes first.
Yeah.
We're not getting that.
No, we're getting minor tweaks here and there.
Unimportant. Indifferent, unimportant.
Air-conditioned Space Mountain Q.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Nothing to make Tomorrowland great again. None of that's going to make Tomorrowland great again.
No.
It's a tweak to kind of, I think, maybe help pacify a few people, the begrudging, bemoaning people like us who are complaining and going, you guys need to do something. So
right.
A tweak here, a fresh splash of paint, and they're going to be like, see, we did something. No, you didn't. You haven't done anything that you need to. And then they're working overtime for Marvel Land.
Right.
Again, business versus other things with it. We can't ignore the business side of the whole thing. So I understand because Marvel right now is in fuego.
It is in fuego.
It is on fire. I mean, the Avengers, holy. For all those who haven't seen it, go see it. It is a freaking great movie.
Yes.
It didn't top my list of all-time Marvel, but it flew up to number 2. So on my personal list. So anyway, Tomorrowland's definitely not a priority.
Okay.
They're not being shy about it either.
Okay, Jess, what do you think?
Ditto.
Okay.
I knew he was going to cover everything that needed to be said. That's why I said go for it.
Really? Okay. All right.
There's no way it's even close to being touched. Not for a long time.
Yeah.
Okay.
They don't care.
Nope.
They don't. Maybe I'm overstating it, but their actions would lead me to believe that they don't care.
Oh. Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Well, I answered that question. Marvel Land really is the land that no one's really asking for, but they're doing it anyways. But I'll ask you just to play advocate, because I like to think about things in larger terms and like to play things out. So in summer of 2019, you will have a swell of people coming to Southern California.
Right.
Okay. So Disneyland, as we know it, is going to be impacted. And one of the reasons why DCA exists was to help offset some of this crowd. So if they are building something that people will be drawn to get some of those people out of Disneyland and over to DCA, I think that's a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
And Marvel Land, 2020, right? That's when, so they're
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, but by then, let me see, so this time next year, they should have a lot done for Marvel Land, at least the construction and things roped off. So I would imagine that their idea is, okay, Star Wars is going to be huge. We need something in DCA to help open another valve to get people out there.
Yep.
Pixar Pier is not going to be enough.
No,
not anywhere near enough. No. So it would be more prudent for them to get Marvel Land done a lot sooner than what they thought because.
Yep. Well, no, again, business-wise, it makes sense. That's why I'm saying we have to be able to separate the emotional connection with the park versus the business side of the park. I mean, if it's not making money, well, the question then always is how much money do they really want to make, which obviously it's always going to be in the business as much as they possibly can.
Outrageous amounts of money.
Outrageous, like ludicrous amounts of money.
But, okay, and I'm actually okay with that, even though Marvel Land is nothing no one's asking for, but I will be less than thrilled if once those two are done that they decide to put Fantasyland refurb in front of Tomorrowland, because they both have to happen. But Tomorrowland is the main thing they got to figure out.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, I think right now Fantasyland is good. It's good for a while. Jess, do you agree or disagree with that statement?
It's good for a while.
Okay, for a while. You don't really
Couple
need
years.
Right.
They don't need to touch it.
Yeah, they don't
At all?
No, not for a while. No.
We're going to get to that.
Well, I know, but
not tonight.
Yeah, no, but eventually we will get there. But I don't think they need to touch it, and I agree with Jess. It's good for a good number of years, and we've been saying it for a while, and a lot of people, we've heard this from a lot of different people, just not in our own little echo chamber with that. A lot of people have kind of reverberated and said Tomorrowland is an issue, and we've heard it.
Yes.
From listeners, from different people in the Disney podcast community, from a lot of different folk. They're all basically saying that is the issue. So I hope they listen. I hope they recognize, okay, they got their Star Wars land in place. They're getting their Marvel land kind of so they can get their massive IPs generating more income, as per usual. And then what do you do after that? Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, go to your next big issue.
Right.
Tomorrowland. Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
What, Jess?
They don't know Tomorrowland's there. They've forgotten about it.
They did.
Should we call it Forgotten Land now?
The Forgotten Land. Okay. So we're going to go through some news. Oh, sorry.
There's the duck.
And there's that. Sorry. And now let's go to our news.
You listen to me now. You are talking about things that you do not understand.
Hey, tonight's news is brought to you by Expedition Roasters Coffee, where they encourage you to brew your happy place.
And I encourage you to go on a little adventure of your own and go find some fortune and glory. My new fave. Well, ties with my fave, Dark Side. Go try it. Bourbon, streusel. Oh, man.
I'll have to get my Indiana Jones hat.
Go get it. Go get it.
And make sure when you are at the checkout to enter our LTP20 discount code for 20% off your first purchase.
Absolutely. And, we totally brewed this tonight, but for me, it was too warm. So I actually poured it over ice, cut it with a little sugar, and I've been drinking this for about an hour, and it's really a nice and pleasant drink. So try that again. If you guys want to get some coffee from Expedition Roasters, do it, pour it over ice, and, sip away. So again, with Expedition Roasters, brew your happy place. Okay, so we've got a lot of things to go through tonight. I'm going to do a little switcheroo here, and I have things listed in order, but we're not going to talk about those ones in order. We're going to talk about, because I want to save the bigger one for the end, which is okay. So what I didn't put on the notes was that something also happened since I typed these up, and that is the Halloween party for 2018. Mm-hmm. The dates were announced. Mm-hmm. Tickets go on sale June 5th if you're an AP holder, and then June 12th for the common folk. Mm-hmm. So tickets going on sale early. Interesting. I remember when the Halloween party first started, no one even cared about this thing. I mean, literally. Now it's crazy. Okay, so I think they start on September 19th, and it goes through Halloween night. So it's going to be
select. I can't remember the dates exactly, but that sounds about right. Yeah,
it's select nights starting September 19th. Mm-hmm. I heard other people say on the 7th, but nowhere official did it say the 7th. Everyone is saying the 19th as far as the parks blog and whatnot. Prices range from $95 to $130. And I think that is, even at the $130 mark, I think that's still a pretty good deal.
I wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't?
I won't pay for it, no.
You want a free ticket, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. You wouldn't.
Pretty much.
No, but I mean, what was it when you started going? How much?
I think Sharon and I paid like $30 for it.
Yeah, it wasn't that much money at all.
Well, I think, it's difficult.
So the answer is no.
But when you went, did you get an armband, a wristband, and then they threw people out that didn't have the wristband?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's actually a great time. I mean, not that people get thrown out, but the fact that
you can run around and do. I mean, we had that one. Our one listener who was describing Star Wars night there, and then having that ability to do that would be. I mean, at $130, that is pretty pricey though.
It's a lot
for 5 hours.
Well, no, you
can get in at what? 4. Okay, actually then.
Or sorry, so what I should say.
We just went in with our pass.
Yeah, but if you don't have that.
I remember some nights at 6 and some nights at 7, but either case, you get to go in 2 hours prior. So either 4 or 5.
So really,
you stay till midnight.
Yeah, and if you stay till midnight, then I would actually not have a problem with that, because then you could get a half day, and then you get 4 hours of. Because they close the park at 8 for those nights, and then you get 4 hours of.
Yep.
And 4 hours of being able to go 5 minutes onto any attraction.
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah, you can cover a lot.
Yeah, you can cover a ton.
Yep.
And then the theming and everything else they have special going on. So I would lean towards it, but I totally kind of get where Jess is coming from.
Sure. Well, Jess, what is your big opposition to this?
To it?
Yeah.
It's just too expensive.
Okay.
I won't do it. I have an annual pass. I can go do it at the same time. I can go to Disneyland all day.
Yep.
For not paying any extra money.
Just you wait till our last news item, Jess. Then you tell me what you feel about that. Which is the first one on the list.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, that's... Okay. I would do that.
Oh, God. Okay. The world is going crazy.
Wait. Okay,
we haven't got there.
We'll get there because I'm flabbergasted.
Okay, so the next news item is the Tropical Hideaway begins transformation. The walls went up recently around Aladdin's Oasis at Disneyland's Adventureland. It will soon become the Tropical Hideaway, a refreshment area that will likely serve Dole Whips, skewers, and other refreshments. So there is some interesting theory about that, is they were going to move Bengal barbecue to that section. Does that make sense to you guys?
No, because they just redid that whole seating area.
That's exactly right.
Well, maybe if they then get rid of that for thoroughfare and make it.
No, retail.
It'll turn it into a store.
Yeah,
They
make it-
would,
yeah,
but
they-
I'm just trying to. I'm trying to think like in going into the brand and going, why would they do that?
Because they like to spend money.
No, I
Make
get
money.
I get that, but
No,
they
spend it. Because
and
they'd
make
have
it.
to. They just redid all that, and now they'd have to tear it all down and redo it.
Well, I mean, but again, why? I mean, what would they do with that space? Retail space? I
Yes.
I guess. I mean,
Yes.
but did that retail space really work before?
Not for me.
I didn't
Not
buy
for a lot of
anything from
people.
it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that was a high, income area.
No.
And plus, what they offered out of there, we've commented on it before. I mean, what last episode, the episode before, not much going on in there.
No.
So why wouldn't? And then there's been a high level of congestion always through that area.
Jeez.
So to me, like what
Right.
I even said, I mean, short of them knocking off part of a building or something like that, then what else you do? I don't know, man.
Well, what would you do?
Flatten it out for a parking lot.
Yeah, there you go. How about make a Starbucks?
Oh, I think that's an excellent idea.
Sure.
No.
No.
But anyway, but yeah, I mean, I would lean towards that, and then think about that. If you did that, you moved that over, you could open that area up because let's think about it. Not too far down the road is going to be a nice little, entrance into a certain little land that's going to get
Yes.
built up. So I mean,
Yes.
you think about that. Who knows? Maybe it's a preemptive move to recognize that. There's going to be lines all the way going that way. Or potentially.
but what? Okay, so you would be okay if they moved Bengal Barbecue and the Dole Whip over to this Tropical Hideaway?
If it fits, yeah, I would be okay with it. If they do
You
it
mean
right,
fits the theme or fits the area?
everything theme wise, they have
Couldn't
to.
you do both though? Couldn't you offer skewers and Dole Whip in both locations?
Yeah, but then they're right there.
Yes.
They're within earshot of each other.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I don't know. It's when I read that, I thought, oh yeah, maybe that is what they're doing. But then I thought a lot like what Jess was saying. It's like they just invested a lot to get people
Yeah.
off the thing.
I get that.
And get people inside.
I get that.
It'll be interesting. Maybe they should have something different there. No.
What would they do though?
Oh, when we talked to Jay about this, I mean, there's all kinds of like Hawaiian dishes you could serve.
Oh, you're talking about the new place.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about if they moved Bengal Barbecue,
Oh.
what to put there.
No, if they move Bengal Barbecue out of there and the Dole Whip out of there, they would convert that back to retail.
Yeah.
That is the only thing that they would do.
Yeah, but no, I agree.
I don't think it's.
No, I agree, but I'm trying to think of outside the normal
Yeah.
thing that they're doing. Maybe they can actually do something different, but
Yeah, we'll see.
I think that's wishful thinking. No, I do
Yes.
agree with that.
We shall see. All right. Mr. John Lasseter, he may come back, but he may not. 6 months after former Pixar and Disney animation chief creative officer John Lasseter took a sudden leave of absence following reports of his sexual misconduct at the workplace, Disney is considering bringing him back. A new report reveals that Disney executives have been debating letting John Lasseter return to the company. However, Lasseter's role would be stripped of executive authority, with the animation guru working strictly in a creative capacity. Huh. Yeah, so he would not be able to hire or fire. He would be removed or contained in the scenario being considered. But even bringing Lasseter back as a creative consultant would give him huge power over all Pixar output, especially if he settles into his old role as Disney's most valued creative employee.
Well,
Interesting.
okay, so I think when 6 months ago when the story broke, I think we kind of talked about it like, well, if these are true, then, obviously he needs to deal with the consequences because it's not okay. But then the other part of it we talked about is like, well, even if he can, how can I put it, reforms himself and he can come back in a good capacity, then
Yeah, it's possible.
People can screw up. People do things that are inappropriate
Accidents and things, not accidents, but things happen.
Yeah, inappropriate. Yeah, and so it could be a moment of bad judgment. So I hope if everything is on the up and up, and he's on the up and up, and he creatively, his mind is fantastic. So if everything is cool, like everything's handled, and he's actually, if he did do that and he's working through what he needs to work through, I'm very much like, you give a person a chance, and if he comes back in, you give him a chance, and then if he screws up, then there's the street, buddy, and don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Right.
But I don't know. It's a mixed bag for me on this one, just because I appreciate creatively what he's done.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, how do you feel? How do I feel? I'm not sure. Part of me is like, give him a chance. The other part of me is like, well, you shouldn't do that, period, to anybody. If it's unwanted advances, then no means no. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
You agree with...
I do. I mean, I'd like to see him come back. I mean, honestly.
Yeah. So you'd give him a second chance? Okay. I would too.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and I think this limited role is a nice way to start.
I think it is too.
And see how he does. And, it's going to be like a, I don't know, honor system, or you got to earn it back. And, it's...
Well, I don't know. I guess automatically my mind goes to how I handle things on a personal level, and I'm very much like that. Like we were talking about before we started. Certain people have... Certain people have wronged me.
Yeah.
And I've sat down, had a conversation, and said, hey, you recognize what you did, right? And then depending on how the conversation goes, and then I give them a chance. And then if they fault me again, you're dead to me. And that's hence the person we're talking about. He's dead to me.
Yeah.
He screwed up again, so I'm over. And that's happened a few times. So I guess my mind automatically wants to give the guy a chance. Yeah. And if you screw up again, you're over, you're done.
Okay.
Adios.
Yeah, I think it's good, and I hope he's in a good headspace and has taken whatever he needed to take and worked on himself or whatever he had to do. And yeah, I think Pixar and Disney is probably better creatively with him involved.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So let's give the guy a second chance and see what's up with that. Okay, next item. Oh, wait a minute. We also have to read our review, right?
You want to do that now or later?
No, after we get done with the news real quick. Since I don't have Ask Dean tonight, I totally forgot. Don't worry, guys. What?
You did? Okay.
I don't have it with me. I forgot.
No, the funny part is like you were going to start right before we started. I was like, wait.
I know.
Are we doing Ask Dean?
No,
I was like
I
getting
forgot.
ready. I want to get ahead of Jess on this one.
You already had.
I know, but I want to.
He wants more.
You want to get more. Once you're in the lead, you keep on going for more.
Okay, so here's curveball number one, and this is last week. The Star Wars for 2019. Sorry, the Star Wars Celebration was announced, and Joey from the Disney Universe podcast had an incredible idea about it being in Anaheim, and then to correspond with perhaps VIP parties for Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, which I was all on board with, and I was actually thinking about in my head, how much would I pay for such a thing?
Yeah, we started having that conversation.
And
for
for
real.
Yeah, and I was like, hey, this is going to happen, and because it makes too much sense. However, as life does once in a while, they throws you a curveball. So, anyways, that curveball is Star Wars Celebration, the one-of-a-kind event that has welcomed thousands of fans from around the world and throughout the galaxy. Will be hosted in a brand new location for its 20th anniversary in 2019. This was announced from the Star Wars show last week, and the location is going to be, where is it, Jess?
Here at my house.
Here at your house.
I close my notes.
Okay,
it's just intriguing me so much.
Chicago.
Oh, I did just read that.
Yes. Chicago.
I believe my reaction was all caps
with three letters.
In a
three
galaxy
letters.
far away.
No, it's a W.
That would have been a better
T
answer.
F.
Why? What's wrong with Chicago?
Well, actually, there's nothing wrong with Chicago.
No. It's not because
they have really good pizza there. I've had that.
I've heard. I've been through there. No,
Uh-huh.
I had a choice at one point: either go to Chicago or go to Canada. Guess where I went?
Canada.
I went to Canada.
Okay.
So I could. Never mind.
I like Chicago.
For all the Chicago listeners out there, we love you.
Yeah.
No, I've been there. It's nice.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
But my reaction was more of why would you go there? Because you're the opportunity for a massive Star Wars fest and just massiveness is gone. Mm-hmm. Now we all know people are going to travel. They're going to travel to these things. It doesn't matter. I mean, that's normal.
Yeah.
But
well, for example, Ricky flew out to Florida 2 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but why would you do it with everything on the horizon that's coming? Mm-hmm. Why would you go to Chicago?
I don't know.
I want to know the rationale, because nowhere in there have I read a rationale anyway. Like, we want Chicago because of X, Y, Z, and we thought blah blah blah. Now, in all fairness, they don't owe us an explanation. But I kind of feel if you expect me to get on a plane and go to Chicago, then you better tell me why I'm going to spend now. Because I would have been more than happy. Like, I would have been fine going to Florida, because then at least I have the park there. I have more. Chicago, just Chicago. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to go to Chicago. I mean, there's no more draw to me than Chicago.
Sure, I understand.
Again, no offense to people who live in Chicago. Mark is saying it's a lovely city.
It is. There's a lot of things to do.
Yeah,
it's
there's
beautiful.
a lot of TV shows based out of Chicago if you go to NBC. But anyway, but yeah, there's no extra draw.
All right.
And especially with what's coming, it made perfect sense to have it in Anaheim.
Yeah, or Florida, but Anaheim was the likely candidate.
That made infinite more sense.
Yeah.
Because the last one was in
Florida.
So everything logically, when you follow the logic train that I had, and a lot of people had, it makes more sense for it to be in freaking Anaheim. And then I'm thinking, then you and I are like, well, we can catch a plane, we can drive down there, we can make this happen.
Oh, yeah.
Spend, X amount of dollars and make it happen, because at that point it would be worth it, because we could spend 3 days in that convention. And honestly, if you ever go to Comic-Cons or anything, it's freaking so much fun.
I've never done that.
Oh, dude, so much fun. Anyway.
Jess has been talking about going to Comic-Con.
I dream about it.
Yeah.
She does,
I
yeah.
do. Love
And
it.
she calls me sarcastic. I just want to. I'm going to put that on the record. But anyway, but yeah. So that's why it was more of a WTF, not because it's in Chicago, but it's because it's in Chicago.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but...
You're wrong.
Okay. It seems to me that a couple years ago, there was plans about doing a Star Wars museum. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. Was the location going to be Chicago?
I don't remember.
I think it was, because most people were thinking it should be San Francisco. It should be Marin County.
You're right.
Or the Presidio.
Yeah.
But they said Chicago, right?
Yeah, and there's no reason for it to be over there.
Unless he has family there. I don't know what's going on with Chicago and George Lucas. But, I mean, whatever. It's okay.
He's a California guy.
He definitely is.
Why would you go to Chicago? I mean, maybe there's a tie that I don't know. Honestly, when it comes to George Lucas, I don't know every ins and out of him. I appreciate what he did and what he's given me, but, I don't get into people's lives. I just don't.
You just don't?
I don't find it that fascinating. But,
okay.
But anyway, so Chicago makes...
Yeah, I guess I'm going to have to watch it online because I'm not going to fly out to Chicago.
Even though if we fly, we can room with Joey.
Is Joey going?
Mm-hmm. We were talking about it.
Yeah, well...
He told me too. He's like, hey, if you go,
Joey
I got a room. And I'm like...
Maybe Joey can take notes for us or something. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, if it was Florida, I'd be more likely to consider that.
Because we have more there.
Yeah.
Because we could literally go, spend a day in the convention, then run out to a park, blah, 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 then come back. We could have a lot more going on.
Yeah.
Or maybe the rationale and the thought process is, if we go to Chicago, everything will be focused on the celebration. There won't be the extra. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's what they're thinking about. But.
Yeah. Well, we'll
anyway,
stay tuned to that.
Yeah, but not happy about that one.
All right. I'm taking another sip of my iced coffee here from Expedition Roasters. Mm-hmm. I cut it with a little bit of sugar. It tastes actually really, really smooth. And iced coffee on a warm day, it's warm. What is it, like 7:30, 8 right now?
Yeah.
And it is, what, probably 75 degrees?
It's actually...
72.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, a slight chill.
Slight.
Okay.
Chill.
Okay, so that leads us to our last news item of the day, of the evening, and that is...
dun, dun, dun.
Oh, actually, before we get to that,
Oh.
I had a thought. We were talking about last time about the Fast Pass coming to Pirates of the Caribbean.
Why'd you have to bring that up?
Well, because I was just thinking about something that these Fast Passes, while they do one purpose of getting you on and off the attraction in a good time, it does have an unexpected effect, which is a negative effect, and that is that it takes the guest out of the experience of experiencing the queue.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
And maybe we talked about that last time.
No, we didn't.
Oh,
No,
we
we
didn't.
didn't,
But I was just thinking about that. How many times have I run onto Indiana Jones and I bypass everything, just and go all the way through into the temple? Sure, there's a little bit of a clog up in the temple, but I miss a good 40 to 50% of everything else.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that sucks.
Yep.
It totally sucks. And the same thing with Jungle Cruise is a really cool queue. Pirates of the Caribbean is an easy, that's like a softball queue. I mean, in terms of it's not very long and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Same with Mansion.
They're all beautiful.
Yeah. Splash Mountain is the same way.
It's silly.
I mean, the only one that kind of sucks is Space Mountain. I mean, I don't, there's not a whole lot.
I don't need space. I can breeze through space. It's no problem.
But go ahead, what are you going to say?
It's silly. That's all. It's silly.
It's silly.
No, good word.
That's the best way to put it.
So the Fast Pass does have that unexpected side effect. If you do miss some of the queue, which Imagineers put a lot of time and thought into doing to bring you into the mood.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's one of the things. Okay.
One thing that, I can't show you because I forgot my password. Did you guys hear what they're starting to do on the mobile app?
Oh, with the food now?
Uh-huh.
We talked about that, didn't we?
No.
We talked about
They were testing it.
It was testing. Now it's there. So.
Oh, it's live?
Okay.
So, like, I'm on the Disney app right now.
We'll order something.
So I can go to the Gibson Girl Ice Cream Parlor.
Yes.
And let's see here. I want it between now and 8:40, so it gives you like arrival times, and then you pick out what you want.
Oh.
And so, Mark, you know, a chocolate chip cookie, hot fudge sundae.
But you know I wouldn't get that. What would I get, Jess?
I don't remember.
Oh, Jess, come on. You're killing me with this.
Do you remember, Udi?
You even got the ice cream for me that I wouldn't eat.
Coffee.
Mocha almond fudge.
Mocha almond fudge.
That's the one I got you.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, that was it.
Okay.
So that's what you get,
Okay.
right?
Yes, it is.
So let's see.
On a waffle cone with peanuts.
Hang on now. I got to go back. You're messing me up here,
I'm
man.
sorry.
A waffle double scoop? A waffle single scoop?
No, I find the single scoop to be sufficient.
Okay. And would you like any sprinkles?
On the ice cream or the cone?
On the ice cream.
No, thank you.
Would you like the waffle cone or cup?
Like waffle cone.
Cone, okay. And we're going to select your flavor of mocha almond fudge.
Yeah.
Okay. And we can customize your selection because was there something else that you said?
Because the waffle cone has, you can either get it, I'm getting worked up here. You can either get a plain waffle cone or you get it dipped in chocolate, and then you can get it either with those little sprinkles or with nuts.
So I'm going to tell you right now, it doesn't give me the option for any of that on here.
Well, I'm not okay with that.
Okay, so we're going to have to go back.
Because I will reject said cone if I show up there and that's not there.
Would you like a premium single scoop, which is a single scoop of ice cream served in a chocolate-dipped waffle cone?
Oh, a premium, yes.
Okay, so that's going to cost you an extra $1.
That's fine.
Then you want no sprinkles.
I want nuts.
You want nuts.
Yeah.
Chocolate with nuts on your cone?
Yes.
Okay.
You guys are...
And then we're just going to see how this works. Hopefully it doesn't try to charge. Oh, it can't charge my card because somebody stole my identity. So we're good. All right, we can add. And let's view my order. All right, Mark, would you like to add a water for $3.49?
I'll pass.
Okay. So we can modify it. Let's review. So if you can get down there within the next 40 minutes, your ice cream will be ready and you pay over the app.
How much is the cost?
$5.81 before your annual pass discount.
$5.81?
$5.81.
That's such a deal.
It is a deal for a Disneyland ice cream.
Yeah.
I'm actually okay with that. And yeah, you can add your pass discount for 15% off.
Wow.
And you pay for it and you walk right up to a window. So you're not even experiencing like standing in line.
You're not.
So yeah, you can. Now see, here's the question.
Yes.
Can I get my corn dog? I can get it at the Corn Dog Castle.
Which is not the same thing.
Which is not the same. But that's my only option.
No.
You can do Jolly Holiday Bakery though. And Bengal Barbecue, just what we wanted. So yeah, that's a new thing that's on there
cool.
now.
Well, we just did it, a little live mobile app ordering. We didn't order anything, but now I want an ice cream.
Yeah, it kind of stopped, yeah. But yeah, so there you go. That's kind of cool. I guess it works. And Pirates, somebody posted a picture of the kiosks behind, or like where you.
I don't want to look.
The stanchions.
Oh, for
the Fast Pass, for the Max Pass when you go in. Yeah, great.
I think it's.
I don't know where it was.
I don't want to look.
You don't want to see it?
Nope.
It's this.
Nah, dude.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah.
Okay, now you showed him, and I gotta look.
Yeah, they're covered.
Yep, June 8th. Awesome. June 8th. Okay, so that'll lead us into.
Oh, I can't wait to experience that.
Our next topic, which is.
Excuse me.
Should we get derailed a little bit? That's okay. The Pixar premiere VIP party. For blank, 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 you get a special ticket that includes admission to Disney California Adventure and the newly renovated Pixar Pier, which you will see on June 22nd. The night before it opens to everyone else. You will also get special snacks, a swag bag, a lanyard, and other good stuff. Well, the private party runs from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. on June 22nd, but you can also enjoy the rest of Disney California Adventure and stay until 10. So you get another hour. You can ride the new Incredicoaster revamped from the former California Screamin', as well as the Pixar Pal Around, the Ferris wheel formerly known as Mickey's Fun Wheel, and Toy Story Midway Mania. Get to nosh on treats from the new Poultry Palace, Angry Dogs, Jack Jack's Cookie Num Nums, Senor Buzz Churros, and adorable snowman frosted treats. I do want to try the frosted treats when I go.
Yeah.
I like lemon. Do you like lemon?
I don't like lemon.
How are you sitting on lemon these days, Woody?
Depends.
Okay, well, I want to try it.
I'll waffle firmly waffle.
Okay. Waffle cone?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, waffle.
Okay. You can enjoy special entertainment, meet Pixar characters, have access to upstairs patio with a new lamplight lounge. Get swag, including a lanyard, free digital photos. Parking is included too. I don't know why they say that. That's part of the cost. But don't expect to get in Disneyland because this ticket's not good for that.
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, and what is the cost for the said event?
This is roughly 40% of an annual pass. $299. For $300, you get to experience this.
But you're in the park. You've got the park for what, 6 hours? What did we say?
3 to 9. Yeah.
And then you get an extra hour?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what, 6 hours?
In DCA.
But if I'm going for the day and I'm not an annual pass holder, and I'm going to buy a ticket anyways, I would want to buy a ticket to this instead. Because I'm going to get to do something that's different than what I would do on a normal basis, and I'm still getting 6 hours, which is plenty of time to do everything in DCA.
But that's $300
Twice.
though.
Twice. But you get swag.
Yeah, but what is the swag?
I get a lanyard.
You get a lanyard. You
And
probably get a
Digital
pin.
photos. You probably get a pin. They usually do pretty well with the swag when it comes to
So
premiere stuff.
yeah.
So you're fine with paying $300 for that.
If
And then
I
you're-
wanted to go, yes.
Okay, and then but you're not okay with the $135 for Halloween party for the
No,
Am I the only one not following the logic here?
because it's nothing special. I can go to Walgreens and buy candy. For Halloween.
Yeah, but okay.
I can see the
I
village
get all
walking
that.
around during the day. I get all the Halloween and fall decor.
Okay, so we're talking about
Plus, it's in DCA.
Yeah.
The Halloween party, right?
It's in Disneyland.
Oh,
it's
is
in
it?
Disneyland.
Yeah.
Still no.
No, actually, it's in both parks.
That's right. They're doing both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry,
So-
Udi. I'm not saying I would jump out of my seat and say like I need to go, but if this was something I wanted to do, I would do it.
Well, see, my first reaction to this was I was taken aback. I go $300 for this.
It's
Yeah,
a lot of money.
Because now what they're going to, this is really, all this is like another test.
I agree.
They are saying, okay, if we can get $300 for this, what can we really, realistically get for Star Wars Galaxy?
Oh no, that's exactly what it is.
So
I'm going right now. They're gonna go double, at least double.
600.
Yep. If they,
I don't think they'll go that
you don't
high.
think they're gonna go that
I
high?
don't think they can.
If they no wait. If they sell this out,
They won't. There's no way.
well, no, but wait. I'm going hypothetical.
Okay.
If they sell it out, you're gonna tell me, okay, then 500. 500. You don't think they will go for 500 for Galaxy
I
Edge?
think they'll go 500. They won't go 6.
Okay, I've been on record as saying that I would pay $500 for
Yeah.
that, and I would pay $500.
I was right there with you.
If I could be guaranteed to experience that park with a decent amount of people, not like a mass
Sardines.
sardines, and that would be worth it to me. I told the girls that
But
I'm willing to
it's-
pay that.
Well, okay, but the thing is though,
If they want to go,
right, no, and I get that, but the thing is, I'm completely shocked at $300 for Pixar.
Absolutely.
It's a retheming of a land.
It's a lot
as
of money.
as opposed to a brand new land.
Yeah.
You see where I'm going with that?
I do.
Do you think they're going to charge people for food?
No, they're not. Well, they are, but I think you get like a voucher for like 6 samples.
That's what
like
I'm
the
thinking.
Food and
like
Wine
food and
Festival.
wine.
Right.
So that's going to be included in that 300.
Yeah,
Plus parking, which is what?
20. Okay,
Plus
so
your ticket.
279.
Okay, then plus your ticket into DCA. What's a single
for 6 hours. Well, but for the full day,
Does it say you only get it? When does it get? Bleh.
you get to go in at 3:00.
You get to enter at 3.
So you get 7 hours at the park.
So, okay, so you get 7 hours. It's a decent amount of time. For DCA.
Yeah. Just call about 115, 110.
97.
Okay. So subtract 20, 97. So that 117 is what you take off of that.
Okay. So we said 300.
Yeah.
Okay. So 300.
Sure, you're still at 200 and
minus
something.
117.
287.
You're at 183.
Well, sorry.
183, yeah.
You're at
183.
183. So now minus your 130 for your Halloween, you're paying $50 more than what you would, and you're getting longer time in the park than you do on the Halloween party.
Well, okay.
And you're
Only
getting
by 1 hour.
You're getting food. I'm sorry, that's a huge deal.
But okay, yeah, but if you're like a family of 4, it's unreasonable to drop $1,200.
Oh, if I'm a family of 4, I'm not taking my kids. I'm
Okay.
going by myself or with my significant other.
Okay.
My kids are staying home. I'm going to enjoy what I'm going to do.
Right. Well, the thing is, as soon as I saw this, I forwarded it to the girls, and both of them were like, "Yeah, I want to go." I go, "We're not."
Really?
I go, "Hold on, we're not going."
No.
I just wanted to get that clear. But what do you guys think? And they go, "Well, how much is it?" I go, $200 or $300, and they go, "Oh yeah, I would probably do that."
Mm-hmm.
And I go, "What?" And they're all about it. I mean, but to me, Pixar Pier is not a big enough draw.
They want it to be, though.
They want it to be. And then I thought about
Cart before the horse in this one, I think.
Yes.
Excuse me?
Cart before the horse. Have you heard? You've heard that?
That's not
expression,
what
right?
I heard.
Oh, Jess.
I wasn't sure what you said. That's why I was asking.
So I also thought about, okay, what if they totally redid like Frontierland or totally redid Adventureland and had a VIP party for that?
Or Tomorrowland.
Or Tomorrowland.
A completely
Great.
revamped
Great.
Tomorrowland.
Great example right there. We've totally redone Tomorrowland and we're having a private party from 3 to 9.
Okay.
Would you do $300 if it included everything that's included here? Parking,
Yeah.
special
I
lanyards.
would.
I would, but it's completely different though.
It's a reskin.
No. But recognize what you're calling out. Heritage Park.
Doesn't matter.
No. It does.
Here we
It makes
go.
a massive difference between Heritage Park and DCA.
Guys, pop some popcorn and sit back.
No. So you want me to spend $300 in DCA? You must be out of your freaking mind, as opposed to going into Tomorrowland and to Disneyland. And so if I get $300 and I get the entire park plus the whole brand new theming and redoing of Tomorrowland, heck yeah, I'm in for that.
But what if you are a Pixar fanatic and that's your thing?
Yeah, that's fine. If you're a Pixar fanatic, then you're going to do it. But the mass appeal, the mass appeal though.
Hang on, Mark has his hand up.
Yeah.
Hands up. We are going to shift focus here because we're going to move out of the Heritage Park and we're going to say, Udi,
Marvel-land.
Marvel-land.
No. I like Marvel.
You're
but
a Marvel guy.
No, I am, but I'm not going to pay that much for that because where am I? No, wait, but where am I still going to be?
Anaheim?
That doesn't change.
Anaheim?
No. What park am I going to be in?
Disneyland?
No, DCA.
DCA.
Yeah, I'm going to be. I'm not going to pay $300 to go into DCA for 6 hours.
Oh, sir, you're more okay. Are you more tied to Tomorrowland or Marvel?
Tomorrowland.
I don't believe you for that. I don't. Do
No.
you believe her?
No,
him?
no,
really.
See, even Jess doesn't believe you on that.
Sorry, Udi.
No. Okay. I'm talking about going
We are
into
telling you
Disneyland.
how you feel,
No. okay. So
Mark needs some more coffee.
So no, what I'm going to do is I'm going to subjugate myself and just let my mind be taken over by you two. No, not even for a little bit.
Okay, shoot.
No, because Marvel, it's a movie thing. I don't collect Marvel comics. I don't.
Okay.
I collect DC comics. Why? Because DC comics are better than Marvel comics.
DC's
Flat out.
better.
Okay.
Comic book was okay. No. But
I'm
you're
kidding.
okay. But then you go into the movie franchise. Yeah, Marvel destroys DC. Okay, DC in the movie franchise. Mm-hmm. I like the Marvel movies.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that I'm going to forget about Disneyland and how Disneyland meant infinitely more to me than Marvel has or ever will. Flat out. So why would I put Marvel Land over Disneyland? I would never. That's what I'm saying. So Tomorrowland means more to me. Tomorrowland was the instigator and started opening up my imagination. Tomorrowland did that. Mm-hmm. Marvel didn't do that. Marvel entertained me.
Okay.
Tomorrowland moved me. Big difference.
Well said.
So there you go.
I
So
think I
that
would
is-
vote for you.
So at the end of the day, that's why, $300 in Tomorrowland, hell yes, I'm there.
Yeah.
$300 for Marvel Land? Hell no, I'm not going.
Okay.
I don't care. $300 for Star Wars? Hell yeah, I'm going. Why? Because, again, Star Wars moved me, inspired me. Marvel doesn't do that for me. It entertains me. It entertains me very well, but doesn't move me.
Okay.
That's why.
Okay.
You guys got me on the damn soapbox when I didn't want to go on it, and I did.
No, it's good. No, I just I just wanted to hear. I wanted to hear your rationale, and to me that makes total sense.
It's totally emotional, and
yes.
it doesn't have to do anything with logic. It's all emotional, and I recognize that. So
I would definitely pay that much for Tomorrowland or any of the lands. Well, I wouldn't pay. Well, I don't know what I'd do for Fantasyland though if they did that. Jess might.
I wouldn't, because I
wouldn't expect Jess to go.
I don't want them to do anything to it. So I wouldn't. There's no way.
Okay.
I don't want to see what they do to that park.
Okay.
Or
Fair
to that
enough.
Area.
Well, we shall see how this all plays out. So that's Pixar Premier VIP. Tickets are currently on sale for $300. And it is a good case study as to what people are willing to pay. And it's going to probably determine what the price is going to be for Galaxy's Edge. And I will be happy to pay a certain amount of money for that when the time comes. But it's interesting. Okay. So that's going to conclude the news for tonight. Now, we don't have 101 tonight because we have a lot to go through with Jim Korkis. So we're going to jump over to the feature presentation now. And again, guys and girls, LTP listeners, this is going to be part 1 of part 2. And sit back, brew some Expedition Roasters coffee. You're going to need it. You will learn a lot. And think, well, go ahead, sir.
I was going to say, I don't know if you're really going to need it because the energy that man puts off.
Yes. And we will have him. We will have him in the future.
Yes.
Because we learned a lot from this guy, and and I think you guys will too. So put your headphones on, or hopefully you guys are on a long drive to Disneyland along I-5 because this is going to take that long to get there.
And honestly, if you don't get pumped after listening to this, you're dead inside. No, I'm kidding. No, but you are.
Yeah. All right. So from now, here's our feature presentation.
And now for our feature presentation.
Hey there, LTP listeners. We want to welcome a guest. It's an internationally respected Disney historian who has written 20 books and hundreds of articles about all things Disney for the past 35 years. His research on Disney history has been used often by the Disney Company as well as other organizations, including the Disney Family Museum. He appears frequently on podcasts such as this and at special events, and has been a speaker at the Walt Disney Family Museum. We want to welcome Jim Korkis.
Yay, welcome.
You're welcome.
Oh, thanks. Of course. I'm looking forward to this because I heard it was a goofy podcast.
Awesome. Well, welcome to the show. My name is Mark. To the left of me is Jess.
Hi there.
And to the right
Hello.
and to the right of me is Udi.
How you doing?
My gosh, what a good-looking group of podcasters here.
Well, thank you.
We defer to Jess for that one.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Yeah. So today we are talking about a brand new book that comes out at the end of next month. That is June. It's called More Secret Stories About Disneyland, which is a follow-up to his Secret Stories About Disneyland. And it's one of those books that you pick up and you don't want to put down because you learn so much. And if you think you're an historian about Disney or Disney parks, you might want to think again because you'll learn something with every page. And I think it's a good thing to learn. So,
Right, and you won't be able to put down the book because we use cheap glue on the binding. but that's why I have to make sure that the content is so good and so important that you won't mind having that book stuck to you as you're paging through all of those pages there. And my gosh, who has got the courage to write a book called Secret Stories of Disneyland? Because, if you're listening to this podcast, then you're probably the Disneyland expert for your friends and family. You know the workarounds of how to get to different areas and what to do when the parade is on and where the only place in Disneyland is to go get the beignets and the non-alcoholic mint juleps,
Yes.
way in the back and around the corner there in by the train station there. So, who is this guy who thinks he knows some of these secrets here? And again, you need to realize that even though you may know something, even though it may be common knowledge to you, sometimes it's not common knowledge to other people. And then sometimes there's just so much about Disneyland. It's the most visited Disney park in the world. It's the park that most people go back to all of the time. It's the park that really makes... It's not just a physical experience. Going to Disneyland is an emotional experience.
Absolutely.
Oh, it is.
When you're standing there on Main Street, you really are in an entirely different world. You feel differently, you behave differently. And it's hard to explain that to those who have never experienced that. And even though, Walt passed away over half a century ago, it still seems like he's walking in the park. And, sometimes it's like, well, I don't want to know secrets, because that's like knowing a magician's trick, and it spoils the, the illusion and all of that. But my philosophy is I want to make sure that some of that material behind the curtain is available, because I think for some people that enhances the experience. I've seen Penn and Teller do tricks, on a plexiglass stage, so you can see exactly where things are going and where things are moving, and you still go, I have no clue how they're able to manipulate all of that. The Tiki Room's been around since 1963, but how many people sitting there listen and go, oh, that orchid that is singing that solo that is now going to trigger, the Tiki's chanting, that's the voice of Norma Zimmer. And people are going to go, well, who's Norma Zimmer? Well, hopefully there are people of a certain age listening to this podcast. Norma Zimmer was known as the Champagne Lady for the Lawrence Welk Show.
Oh.
And she also did an awful lot of music for the Billy Graham Crusades.
Oh.
And, of course, she was a backup studio singer for Frank Sinatra and all of these things. And so for people sitting there listening in a Tiki Room, it doesn't make a difference that that's Norma Zimmer singing. It's like, that's an orchid singing. And, oh, my gosh, it's triggering off this. But for that one person who does know that, it's like, oh, my gosh, look at all of this, attention to detail that Disney is doing. And this is why an experience at a Disney park is different than going to Knott's Berry Farm, and I love Knott's Berry Farm.
Yeah, me too.
Or SeaWorld or Marineland or Universal or whatever. There's that small attention to detail that most people, if anyone, ever knows, but it makes that difference. It's not just, a run-of-the-mill studio singer or somebody from the back room that you pulled to do this. You've got those little things. The bird sounds in Tiki Room, some of those are done by Clarence Nash, who was the voice of Donald Duck.
Okay. But
But he started his career doing bird sounds. That's how he started in vaudeville and Chautauqua and all of that, was imitating birds. And so, of course, you use him in the Tiki Room,
right?
To do. In fact, he imitated bird sounds for some of the animated cartoons as well. And so you go, oh, okay. Walt really knew what he was doing there.
Right.
So
speaking of vaudeville, isn't Wally Bogue featured in the Tiki Room still?
Oh yes. Oh my gosh, and Wally Bogue, what a
Yeah.
I got a chance to meet him in person, and in
geez.
fact he gave me a box of Bogaloons. and for those of you who are not familiar with Wally Bogue, Wally Bogue was a vaudeville entertainer who was touring, and Walt brought him in, and he had been recommended to Walt, and he did an audition. He made balloon animals. He told some corny jokes and things like that. And Walt said, we'd like to hire you for a couple of weeks at Disneyland for the Golden Horseshoe review. And so Wally and the rest of the cast actually wrote the show and created that entire experience. And again, a job that was just supposed to be for a couple of weeks lasted for decades.
Right. Yes.
Same thing with Vesey Walker, who was the band leader. He was only hired for like about 2-3 weeks, and he ended up doing that for decades at Disneyland there to do that. And of course. One of Walt's favorite shows at Disneyland was, of course, the Golden Horseshoe Review. And in fact, his box was right over there, stage left. If you're sitting in the audience, it's over to your right. You need to realize that actors, and I'm one of them, actors are incredibly dumb. And so for an actor, when you're standing on stage facing the audience, the area to your right is stage right. The area to your left is stage left. And even then, sometimes actors get confused, and walking towards the audience is downstage, and, walking away from them is upstage, because stages also used to be slanted because the audience was flat, so stages used to be slanted so that people could see more clearly. And sometimes actors were so stupid they would trip and they would roll down, to the front of the orchestra pit and all of that. But Golden Horseshoe Review, one of my favorites as a kid, and of course it was free, because that was one of the things that made Disneyland different than other amusement venues. Is that there were some things that you didn't have to pay for. You didn't have to pay for listening to the Dapper Dans. You didn't have to pay for seeing some of these stage shows. Oh, and the Dapper Dans, they're the ones who discovered the Osmonds. We were talking about the Lawrence Welk show. The Osmond brothers came down to audition for Lawrence Welk, and Lawrence Welk was so busy he kept delaying the audition. And so their dad didn't want them to feel so disappointed because, they were like 12, 10, 8 years old type thing. So he took them to Disneyland. They heard the Dapper Dans singing on the street corner on Main Street, and they came up and they said, could we sing with you? And, of course, the Dapper Dans, and you want to be, as a Disney cast member, you want to be nice to the guests. And so it's like, oh, well, this will be fun. Some cute little kids, want to sing along. And the Osmond brothers just started to sing, blew everybody away. So T.J. Marker, who was in charge of the Dapper Dans, took them backstage, to the head of entertainment, and he says, you got to listen to these kids. And at that time, what happened is Disneyland was doing a local syndicated show. I missed that. I'm in Orlando, Florida now. When I was in California, Channel 9, Channel 13, Channel 11 would oftentimes run local shows about Disneyland that never went anywhere else. And fortunately, I videotaped, some of those, because again, sometimes it was a promotion for things like Blast to the Past or whatever, and it was only at Disneyland. So why would somebody in Iowa, want to listen to that? But anyway, Disneyland was doing a show 7:30 at night on Saturdays, I think, on Channel 11, called "Meet Me at Disneyland" over the summer, to help promote attendance. And so they said, "Can you kids stay around for a day or two and be on this show. And Disney put them up at the Disneyland Hotel, and they appeared on the show. And what happened is on that show, Andy Williams' brother was watching the show and talked to his brother and said, "You should have these kids on your show." Which is how the Osmond brothers got onto the Andy Williams show. And this is before there was even a Donnie and Marie in the group.
Oh, jeez.
And so Disneyland was the start of making dreams come true for people. And for those of you who are going, where are all these stories written? They're in my books. I'm an orphan. I was laid off from Disney in 2009 in 1 week with 3,000 other people. And so go buy my books so that I can pay my electricity bill this month. And so go to Amazon.com or themeparkpress.com and look for Korkis, Korkis. That's a Greek word that means horse slayer. I don't do that, even though that's part of the tradition. And look for Secret Stories of Disneyland, and starting early in June, the sequel, More Secret Stories of Disneyland. And so for those of you who grew up and just feel that Disneyland is your land, and you want to know about those roasty toasties, which are those little figures on the popcorn machine, or you want to know about the ghost on the Fred Gurley train, or you want to know how Doritos were invented, or the fireflies in Pirates, or Mark Davis's idea of who the pirate redhead really was. Because we've just had that change. We're having that change being done now out here at Walt Disney World. I know Disneyland is having that too, where there was that auction scene.
Yes.
And again, the auction scene now has taken on, a different connotation. But when it was originally done, it was like, pirates are these, real rogues, and you've got to realize, too, that in real life, pirates never had auctions for women. If they wanted a woman, they would just take the woman. And if you wanted the woman that somebody else had taken, you fight that other pirate to get that woman. But at Disneyland, they did an auction scene because, again, what they want to do is they want to show that the pirates are so lonely and they spend all their time at sea that they can't get a wife. And so, take a wench for a bride. So that's what it was. It wasn't like, oh, yes, they're ravaging women. It's like one of the differences between my book and other books is I got a chance to interview a lot of Imagineers. And unfortunately, some Imagineers who are no longer with us, like Mark Davis. And so I got to include that material in the book. And he was telling me, Jim, for the pirate scene, we wanted all of this exaggeration, and he said in the auction scene, one of the things that people don't realize is I put that one woman all in red, and emphasized, the bust, and she's got this stylish hat, and she's got the cleavage, and we had makeup, and originally we had like a beauty mark on her right cheek, and she's, lifting her skirt, and the auctioneer is saying, don't show your superstructure there, and all of that. He says, it didn't occur to anybody that figure was based on my original designs for the pirate walkthrough. She was the town prostitute.
Oh.
That's why she's all in red and has all of that makeup and isn't, upset about being auctioned off. In fact, she's looking around to seeing who is the drunkest pirate here, because I want him to buy me, because then I can take over.
Yeah.
And he said, so I felt that after she got auctioned off, she actually took over the whole pirate ship. He says, that's why I've got her in that painting in the beginning there, where you've got that red-headed pirate with the eye patches and all. That's her. That was what her future was.
Oh.
And now, of course, they've made her more subdued, even though she has a bottle of rum on her hip and a musket. She is more daintily dressed.
Yeah.
And for that to happen. And so, again, off camera, off mic, we talked about this before, that Disneyland is constantly changing. So there are elements there that are always very similar. But there are other things that constantly change, and with pirates, that's always changed. They changed it so that the pirates were not chasing after the women; they were chasing after food, because gluttony is one of the 7 deadly sins. So that's why you do that. And then you're getting to a generation that only knows pirates from the Johnny Depp movies. So you've got to include, references to Captain Jack Sparrow in here, because you've got a generation going on to an attraction called Pirates of the Caribbean, and they're going, where's Keira Knightley? Where's Orlando Bloom?
Yeah.
So you've got to have at least, Captain Jack Sparrow in there. So whether this auction scene works or not, or whether, just sometimes culture changes. I'm old enough that I got upset that when Disney went back and Pecos Bill, one of my favorite Disney animated cartoons, because, again, sung by Roy Rogers and the Sons of the Pioneers, and that was always a big hit with me and all that. But in Pecos Bill, he always had a little cigarette dangling out of his mouth, which was not uncommon for cowboys. But again, smoking now becomes an issue. In fact, Tom Hanks said that if in Saving Mr. Banks, he could have a cigarette in his hand and he could show putting out the cigarette, but if he put the cigarette in his mouth, the film would have been R-rated.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
So in Pecos Bill, they went through and they, with the computer now, you can do everything, eliminated the cigarette hanging out of Pecos Bill's mouth. But just recently, and this is the exciting thing, is you learn new things all the time. Just recently, I was talking to a friend whose father grew up on a ranch in Texas. And his father, as a teenager and as a young man on the ranch, smoked a cigarette all the time. But once he got off the ranch and moved, somewhere else, he stopped smoking immediately. And his son, my friend, asked him, "Well, Dad, why were you smoking when you were younger? Was it because you looked cool, or you wanted to be old, look older, or whatever?" And his father told him, "No, when you were working on a ranch, you smoked the cigarette so that there was smoke around you so that insects wouldn't attack your face. You have this little smoke, and so that's why." And he said, once I left the ranch, I didn't need to do that anymore. I wasn't going to get attacked by, mosquitoes and flies and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
So there was a reason why people were smoking. And again, when we take a look at Disneyland, there's a reason why certain things are there. When you look at the Snow White Grotto on the side of Sleeping Beauty's castle, and you go, "Oh, this is so pretty," and look, they put in a waterfall. Isn't that a little, a nice touch, Well, they didn't need to put in the waterfall. Just having a little lake there, pool, would have been fine. Imagineer John Hench told me, we got these dwarf figures, and Snow White, of course, was made the exact same size as the dwarfs. And so what I had to do is I had to do forced perspective of, if I put Snow White higher and further away, she will look like, and I put little tiny animals near her, it'll look like she's full size. But if you have a waterfall, there's a reason to put her up higher and farther away, and then have dwarves down the side for that to happen. And again, we take all of these things for granted. And while you're there at that Snow White grotto, I hope you take a look over to the left and take a look at Herb Ryman's little Christmas tree over there. Because again, what happens now is Disneyland, Walt Disney World definitely, but Disneyland is almost becoming like a reservation vacation. You have to rush for your fast passes. You have to rush for your reservation at a restaurant, or you're dealing with apps, and it's like, oh my gosh, it is so expensive to come into Disneyland, and it is so expensive to park and all of this, that I've got to ride Space Mountain at least 20 times in order to get value for my ticket. And we miss all these little itty-bitty things. So Herb Ryman, of course, was the person who did up the design for Disneyland Park that Roy Disney took to the bankers to show them, that you should invest in Disneyland. But he also did the design for Sleeping Beauty's castle there. Right. And Herb Ryman is also the one who designed New Orleans Square, and got all that wonderful stuff. However, as happens to all of us, he got ill, and he was in his hospital bed at the end of the year, and he wanted a real Christmas tree. So his sister went out and got a 3-foot-tall blue spruce to keep in the room. But because of his illness, they had to close the shades, and, they had to control the temperature in the room and all this. And so everybody thought that, by Christmas, the tree was going to be dead. And it wasn't. And after Christmas, while he was asleep, she took it out and it's after Christmas, took the tree out and, threw it in the garbage. He woke up, and where is my Christmas tree? I want my Christmas tree. And so she had to run out and literally fight with the garbage man to pull the tree back and bring it and put it in the room. And so Herb passed away in February. The tree was still alive. Right. Bill Evans, who was a good friend and who was the landscaper at Disneyland, came and visited Herb. And, there was new blooms. There was new growth. And so what happened is a bunch of Herb's friends decided one night, they took the tree and they went to Disneyland and the side of Sleeping Beauty's castle, because, again, Herb had done Sleeping Beauty's castle. They dug a hole and they put in, the tree. They actually celebrated with a glass of champagne, and they put in a glass of champagne with the tree as well. And it started to have a little, small misty rain, at that point. They gave that toast to Herb. There was maybe about a half dozen Imagineers, and over the years that tree has passed away, but always been replaced. So those in the know, take a little look at the side there. But those who don't know, it's just like it's part of the landscape, because again, Disney didn't want that as an official tribute to that. I think they did put on a little plaque that said something like genus artistic extraordinaire.
Oh, that's interesting.
You know, it's been a while since I was out there in October because, again, you know, you want to check these things before you put them into print, for crying out loud.
Oh, for sure.
Things that I always thought was, well, that was always there.
Yeah.
That's not there anymore.
Not there
you know, they removed it for whatever reason. Sometimes it's for maintenance. Sometimes it's like, well, this is broken and we don't have anything to replace it with, or. So, you know, you got to check these things. And so everything in my book, too, I had to make sure that I had 3 independent references for each thing I put in.
Yeah.
And by independent references, what I mean, and I'm sure you guys have run into this, is sometimes you see an awful lot of cut and pasting.
Oh, for sure.
You know, where somebody has found a little fun fact and they'll paste it over in their website, but they won't even change any of the wording, you know. Or sometimes Disneyland releases, you know, a little sheet of fun facts, and that was true in 1990, or that was true in 2005, but it's not true today, you know.
Yeah.
So you've got to go back, and even talking to these people, like talking to John Hench or talking to Mark Davis, sometimes they only saw their part of the project, you know. And everything at Disney is a collaborative, whether it's animation or whether it's at the parks, it's a collaborative effort, you know. And so some people, you know, put in a little bit here and a little bit there, and oftentimes never get any credit at all. You know, Imagineer Tom K. Morris, who just retired just a while ago, he told me that, you know, he never wanted to be an Imagineer. He wanted to be an animator, you know, but through an odd series of events ended up in Imagineering, and he did a lot of great things, especially like at Disneyland Paris. But for the Mickey Traders, where you see that neon Mickey in a spacesuit doing the tumbling,
right.
That's the artwork of Tom Morris, and he says that is the only animation I ever did. And so, you know, of that, and he says nobody knows. Nobody, I never got credit for it, and so all of those Disney historians out there who are talking about these things, they have no clue. That's the only animation I ever did. It's right there along the side of the building there, and so many people have walked by. Because, again, you know, it's also anonymous, you know, because it is a collaborative effort. Everything is just Disney. So, you know, in fact, several years ago, there, right after Bob Iger took over, there was actually a meeting where they said, from now on, there's going to be no more celebrity animators or celebrity Imagineers.
Oh.
Because, again, they became too prominent. You know, it's one of the reasons that Tony Baxter got moved out is he was very prominent. And again, you don't want someone like that out there, too, because now it sounds like they're speaking for the company.
Yeah.
Sure.
And Disney has a very definite narrative, a very definite agenda that they want to get across. So Joe Rohde is one of the last ones hanging on there. You know, most of us grew up at a time where, you know, when it came to animation, we knew names like Glenn Keane and Mark Henn and all of that, but I don't think there is anybody even listening to this podcast who can tell me even one of the animators who worked on Olaf on Frozen.
Yep, I can't.
No, I can't.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, some of these Imagineers stick out just simply because they do great jobs.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know, and they're great communicators. And so, you know, one of my heroes of the new Imagineers is Kim Irvine, who I think has done, you know, she studied under John Hench, And I think, when she's made changes in attractions, she has been very cognizant, very respectful of, what the attraction is. And so she did some changes to Pirates. She did some changes to Haunted Mansion. And I'm sure all of us listening to this know that in the Haunted Mansion, that when you go out the window, and the doom buggy turns backwards, so it's like you're falling down.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That is because you are now the wife who has been thrown out the window to be killed. That's why you're falling backwards. And if you look over to the right, look at the shingles on the roof. They are different than the shingles on the outside of the attraction house. And the same thing at Walt Disney World, different than that, because now you are the young bride who's been tossed out of the window to her death. And down at the bottom, you notice that the caretaker is not looking into the cemetery at the ghost. They're looking at you because you're the 1,000th ghost going in.
Wow.
Got it.
Wow, that's interesting. I never thought about that.
Totally just blew my mind. I never would have thought of that.
And at the end of the graveyard, you see that opera singer, right? That woman with the Viking horned helmet and the pigtails. And why is she over there on the right?
I know that one.
Because it's not over until the fat lady sings.
Yep.
I didn't know
That's why Mark Davis put her there.
I didn't know that. Oh, man.
Oh, wow.
That is fantastic.
Isn't this exciting?
Oh, I love it.
Because now you can go out and share these things, and people are going to go, you guys are so amazing. Not one of them is going to say, did you hear this from Jim Korkis?
I love
awesome.
it. I love
yeah, so
and again, that's the beauty of story, is you need to share these stories. And for too long, these stories have been kept, to just a little group, or have been kept secret or whatever. And so sometimes cast members have had to, invent stories, like this Tombstone, for Yale, for Master Gracie, and he's the master of the house. See, Master Gracie. I talked to Exitencio, who's the Imagineer, who wrote the Tombstones.
Yeah.
And he said, I use the word master because during that time period, that was a diminutive term for a young child who is not old enough to be called Mr. So like Master Lord Fauntleroy and whatever. And he says, I called him Master Gracie because Yale, Gracie, was just a child at heart. He was just a big kid. And in fact, the Pepper's ghost in Haunted Mansion, in the ballroom scene, that actually came from a book that Yale had as a kid called The Boy Magician. And in there it describes, it was published by Popular Science, and in it was projects, that a kid could do, like build a kite or, start a fire or whatever. But there were magic tricks, and one of the magic tricks in there was Pepper's ghost, and that's where he got the idea for doing that in the ballroom. It was from this, and I got a chance in October to talk to his two grown sons, and they said, "Yeah, we still have that copy of the book." And they said, and that the dad, of course, saw a real ghost when he was a kid. I said, "No, tell me this story."
Yeah,
I gotta hear that. Yeah.
Apparently, he and his mother went to visit some relatives in the East Coast for a couple of days, and at the end of the visit, Yale's mother asked him, "Well, what did you enjoy? The most?" Figuring that he would say, "Well, I loved playing with my cousins, or I loved seeing this, or I loved, having this food." He says, "Well, my favorite thing was that little old woman who would come out of the closet every night and read stories to us." And the other cousins were going, "Shh, shut up.
Wow.
She won't come back. Shut up. And so the mother went to the library and did research, and apparently the house had previously been owned by an older woman who had passed away in the house. And
Oh, man.
and Yale apparently said that, yeah, he's sorry he said anything, because when he went back, to the West Coast, his cousins wrote to him in not friendly terms about how the old woman never came back out to read to them again.
Aww.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, and again, that's one of the things that I want to do in these books, Secret Stories at Disneyland and More Secret Stories at Disneyland, is bring attention to some of these individuals and the stories behind them and how that influenced, the creation of some of the things we've done there.
Oh, yeah, for sure, yeah.
Now, I haven't really had a chance to say anything because you guys are constantly interrupting and asking all these questions. But
Sure.
Well,
it is your podcast.
Well,
so
I'm going to tell you this right now.
If you have a couple of questions or a couple of things, because you, unlike the reader, unlike the listeners here, you guys got an advanced look at the manuscript for More Secret Stories of Disneyland. So do you have a favorite fun fact or a story, or do you have a question for me?
Go ahead.
Well, we've got a lot of
Yeah.
questions. Some don't pertain to your new book. We just have general questions because we have some on our own. Plus, we also are running a little contest. We're going to buy a book when it comes out, and we're going to give it to the listener who submitted the best question. So,
in fact, we can even make that even better. The listener who answers this question, I will be more than happy. You will send me their snail mail address, the name and that. I will autograph the book and do a little drawing in the book.
Okay.
But the listener is also going to have to say, do you want just the autograph or do you want it inscribed? Inscribed means that you write the person's name.
Right.
To Tom, hope you enjoy the book, your friend Jim Korkis, whatever.
Okay.
So I will be more than happy to send an autographed book with a little drawing, and you can have it inscribed if you want.
Oh, awesome. That's very kind.
That's amazing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Oh, awesome.
Okay.
Can I not be on the podcast? Can I be a listener for a little bit?
Right now.
Well, wait a minute. What's the question?
Yeah. No, the best question that we asked.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. All right. So we have our own questions, and we're going to get to the listener's question first.
Yeah.
Listener's questions. So when you were doing this research for the new book, which is called More Secret Stories About Disneyland, was there something that actually surprised you, Jim Korkis?
That I was able to write a second book. Because there are so many Disney secrets out there. There are these podcasts, there's the websites, there's all of these trivia books. There's so much. I think one of the things that took me by surprise was on the Star Tours attraction. I talked with Imagineer Jason Sorrell, who's now working for Universal Creative, and he said, for the new Star Tours, this takes place, during a certain time period, so you're only allowed to use certain elements.
Mm-hmm.
You can't use things that have happened, beforehand. Mm-hmm. So on one of the adventures, they wanted to go to the planet Hoth, which is the ice planet.
Mm-hmm.
Where they had the big battle with the all-terrain armored transports.
Know them well. I know them
the
well.
Imperial Walkers, basically. But again, unfortunately, the time period takes place before that. So they thought, okay, well, what can we use? Maybe we can use the wampas. That's that hairy white carnivorous predator, that got Luke. Maybe they could use the tauntauns, which is the mount. And so they went to Lucas, George Lucas himself, because again, George Lucas and Lucasfilms, very protective of the franchise, and everything has to be consistent. And so, he was very nice, and he said, I like these proposals that you have here for scenes and things like that, but I'm disappointed that on Hoth, you didn't include, the walkers. And they said, well, of course, Mr. Lucas, we like those too, but on the timeline, the rebels had not yet established a base on the planet, so, we couldn't use them, and George looked at us, Sorrell said, and he said, who cares? He said, maybe what happened is the rebels were there earlier, and there was a battle with the walkers, and then afterwards the rebels came back figuring the Empire won't come back there because they knew the rebels had already left.
I love it.
And so that's why the walkers are in the attraction. And related to that, I remember hearing the story, which I include in there, which is Roy O. Disney's wife, Edna, was 84 years old when Space Mountain opened, and wanted to ride Space Mountain. And they're going, "Oh my gosh, there's an 84-year-old woman," and she was very tiny. In fact, I did a lot of interviews for another book I wrote called "Call Me Walt," which is the information about Walt as a person, not Walt as a filmmaker or park maker or whatever. And Edna was so small that she had this huge, massive Cadillac, and she would drive 30 miles an hour in the fast lane on the California freeway, and she couldn't see over the steering wheel. She had to see through the steering wheel. So she wants to ride Space Mountain, and it's like, how can you say no to Edna? Disney, right? But she's 84 years old, and again, even though the attraction only goes about, 25, 30 miles an hour tops, it's completely dark. And, it's open, so you've got the wind rushing at you. So the illusion is that you're going much faster, and you can't see where the dips are and all of that. So everything is an illusion. So anyway, she got on, and Don Tatum, who was the CEO and chairman of the board there at the time, ran, to the exit. Is she going to need oxygen? Is whatever, and she comes off, and he goes, Edna, are you all right? And Edna was, oh gosh, she was quite a character. When she and Roy went over to France, and they were talking with merchandise people there, sometimes she saw that they were talking in French and all of that. So she learned French. So the next time when they went over, she was able to hear that they were making fun of her husband, and she told them in French, knock it off. So anyway, she gets off, and she says, my sister and I used to ride all the roller coasters, but that was like about 60 years ago or more.
Yeah, sure.
John Hench told me the story that on the first rides of Space Mountain, there was a group of middle-aged or older women who were riding, and they were all laughing and joking and all that, and they got on, and when they got off, they fell to their knees and kissed the ground.
Oh, jeez.
And then they were silent until they got, right to the exit, and then they started laughing again, and Hench said, what happened is they felt that they had cheated death. And he says that is Perfect. One of the things that we want to accomplish on a Disney attraction is that feeling of, I survived.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Which was very cool. So, so there are constantly things that I was discovering writing the book, and I don't know if I have a third one in me, but you never know, because once you write a book, sometimes people just come out of the woodwork with
for sure.
stories, or my grandmother used to work for Roy Disney, and she said da 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 da.
Okay.
And so and again, of course, Disneyland is constantly changing.
Yeah.
We've got Star Wars Land coming up there, and so you know, you never quite know, you know, what are going to be some new little secrets that, you know, get hidden in there that,
For sure.
you know, we never pay attention to.
For sure. Okay, so and I do want to get to the Star Wars thing in a minute, but a couple other questions prior to that. So not related to the book, but things that I just always kind of wondered about. So when I'm at the park and I hear like the songs from like the Sherman Brothers, like the Tiki 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 Room, and It's a Small World, are they getting royalties every time those songs are played? Or did they set
That's a good question, and I don't know. On Small World, I know they are getting royalties because when they first wrote the song, they were going to donate it to UNICEF.
Oh.
And Walt Disney pulled them aside and said, "Are you insane? This song is going to make a fortune."
Yeah.
And so that got copyrighted in their name. And so It's a Small World. And again, you know, when Disney uses songs, they pay money to an ASCAP clearance.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, that's a lump sum, and then that's divided up among other people. On the Tiki Room, I am not sure whether that was just purchased outright by Disney. Claude Coates was telling me he designed the Caterpillar ride vehicle for the Alice in Wonderland ride.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was wider and longer than any ride vehicle up to that point. And so it was patented under his name. However, the day before the attraction opened, they came, and he was told, "You need to sell the patent to Disney for $10."
What?
And Claude signed it over.
Wow.
He said, "It was part of my job." He says, "I didn't want the patent."
Jeez. Wow, that's interesting fact.
So I don't know if the Sherman Brothers get paid. Well, they get paid through ASCAP.
Yeah.
But whether they get paid differently, I don't know. But I do know that they do own It's a Small World, and that was because Walt Disney insisted that they do it in their name.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I like that. That's a good
Yeah, that's good to know. Okay, next question for me. So we've been to the Walt Disney Family Museum, and it's awesome in everything. And one of the highlights is that park replica.
Oh, yeah.
It's a park recreation. Now, what is it?
Are you talking about the
park
miniature?
model?
Yeah, that's right.
miniature,
Yeah, that's
model,
right.
yeah.
The park model miniature. And you know, one of the things that I had always thought was that all the attractions were within the berm of the park, but upon further inspection, I noticed that the pack mule rides actually went beyond the berm of the park. And I asked the docent there, I guess that's the term, the lady that was working there, and she said, "No, everything's accurate here." And I go, "Okay." And I just thought that was strange, and I never got a real answer on it.
Well, again, as it was explained to me by Bob Gurr, he says it's like having a belt around you. You know, eventually as you start to get older and a little larger, the belt starts, you know, and so you need to expand a little bit. And again, of course, one of Walt's greatest regrets was that he didn't have enough money to buy more land around Disneyland, and he felt it started to look like you know, a second-rate Las Vegas, you know, with the, you know, buy 3 T-shirts for $10, and you know,
sure.
Some of these cheap motels and all of that, which Disney eventually quietly started buying up. By the way.
Yep.
Oh, right.
So anyway, you know, how can we find more room? And so. It started primarily with Pirates, where that's why you go down a waterfall, or actually go down 2 waterfalls, is so you can get underneath the train tracks to get to the show building. And for Haunted Mansion, the exact same thing. That's why there's the stretching room, so that, you know, you go down so that you can go underneath the train tracks and into the show building, and then you come back out. And it never occurs to anybody. Now, with Toontown, what happens is you have all of that area out there, and some of that was where fireworks were being shot off, and there was storage of some props and all of that. So what they did is, again, they dug underneath the train tracks, and then, of course, told you that Toontown had always been there, since the 30s.
Right.
But they just want, and that's why Mickey is able to come and visit in the park, so quickly. And that's where that was. And so they kept pushing and pushing and pushing. But after a while, you don't have any more push to go. With Star Wars Land, that's where the Pony Farm was, and the Pope House.
Right.
Owen Pope and his wife there were the only people who ever lived at Disneyland. Walt, of course, had the apartment, but he didn't live there. It was like visiting. It was, I guess, like having a Disney vacation. You can go timeshare. You can go visit a couple of times. But the Popes actually lived there in a house that had originally been on the Anaheim property there, and in fact, in that house, that's where Owen Pope started to make the harnesses for the horses at Walt Disney World, which is why at Walt Disney World on the car barn there's a window that says Owen Pope Harness Maker. And they left in 71, and then the house there became an administration building for the Pony Farm. It served as different offices, and now for the expansion of Star Wars Land, they moved that house. It's now in a parking lot on Ball Road. I don't know what they're intending to do with it. I hope they're intending to do something nice with that, because it's such a significant part of Disneyland history. But then they also had to move the horses as well, too, although there are fewer horses now at Disneyland than there were when Disneyland opened in 55. But, you've got to find the land, to do that. And so you've got to look beyond the berm, and then after a while, there's just no more land. What are you gonna What are you gonna do? True. And again, I was talking with Eddie Soto. I'm going to be interviewing him. Eddie Soto did a lot of work for Disneyland Paris, but he did work for Disneyland, including coming up with the concept of tying all of New Orleans Square and Tom Sawyer Island and parts of Frontierland in with the pirate Jean Lafitte. And so his proposal, because they were worried about labor costs and capacity of taking those Tom Sawyer rafts over to the island, so they were going to build a tunnel underneath the rivers of America that would go from New Orleans Square underneath and then pop up on Tom Sawyer's Island, which, of course, is where John Lafitte had hidden his treasure. And, of course, you had Lafitte's Landing in the Pirates ride, and you had Lafitte's Anchor that's been out there since 1955, although it's moved to different locations. And it was even going to be connected with the Haunted Mansion, which is where today some of you can still see that there's a crypt with a year date on it. That was going to be Jean Lafitte's crypt. And just like his actual crypt, there was, and just like under the city of Paris, that's where you buried people. And so that's the tunnel that you were going to go through, and you would see pirate skeletons and things like that.
That would have been so cool.
Go up. And so it's always the case of how can we utilize, the space that we have here? How can we expand on that? How can we get more people to use that? And for instance, that's why Tony Baxter came up with Tarzan's Treehouse. It wasn't just, we need something new and refresh it. It's that Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse was only accommodating 300 people an hour, and yet just down the block here you've got the entrance to Indiana Jones and pirates, and it's all just congested. So you need to have something that's going to absorb more people. So by doing Tarzan's Treehouse, suddenly now it's up to 1,200 people an hour. So actually, Disney has a term for it. It's called theoretical hourly capacity, THC. So if you see that definition, that was because safety, courtesy, show, and efficiency. Originally, efficiency was capacity. How many people can you get on? Because that's a bad experience if people are, waiting in line. That's where Fast Pass developed from, and whatever. How can we funnel through more people into a limited amount of space? Yeah, but you see, I can go all over the map.
Sure, for sure.
You can say, "Is it raining in Florida today, Jim?" Yeah. And I can talk for 3 hours about rain and the connection with Disney and my gosh, in the movie Bambi, the song "Little April Showers," the raindrops were originally going to talk while they fell, and things like that. So, and again, you guys don't know any different, right?
No, we don't.
So I can say anything I want. Okay,
we don't know any different. So I have one more question, and then maybe Jess or Rudy has a question. Then we have some listener questions too. But I was always curious about toward the end of Walt's life, like 1965, 1966. I mean, he was more focusing on talking about Epcot and how that was going to pan out. And I had read that he really wasn't all that involved in Disneyland. And in fact, he has sort of given up on it. Not given up, but he wasn't all that interested. He was kind of like moving on.
No, he was still involved with Disneyland, because you've got to remember in '67 you've got the whole new Tomorrowland
right?
region, right? And Walt was intimately involved with all of that. '67, you've got Pirates of the Caribbean opening. So Walt was involved with Disneyland, but again, it was just like animation. It's like, I've done that. There are other people who can do that and who know how to do that. And so, for instance, when they were planning Walt Disney World, they wanted to talk to him about the Magic Kingdom, and he said, "You guys know how to do that." And he figured they'd come up with stuff, and then Walt, the great editor, would come in and edit accordingly. But at that point in Walt's life, he realized, he had that sense that there wasn't a lot of time left. He was a grandfather, and he had pick up a copy of my book, Call Me Walt, Everything You Never Knew About Walt Disney, because there's not any mention of Mickey Mouse. There is no mention of Disneyland. There's no mention of audio animatronics. It's only about Walt as a person. What did he eat? What did he wear? Where did he go buy things? What were his hobbies? Actually, his greatest hobby in '65, '66 was lawn bowling.
Right. Yeah.
He was a member of the lawn bowling league at Smoke Tree Ranch, where he even planned out the bowling green and with the Beverly Hills. And in fact, when he went out to pick up his medal from President Lyndon Johnson, he took out his lawn bowling team, and they stopped for a tournament, along the way, to go out and pick that up. But anyway, at that particular point in his life, Walt's already thinking, there's more that can be done. We want to make life better for people. But Walt had a sinus condition where he had to go in, a couple of times a week to get that drained. Yes. Not only did he have that polo injury, he had arthritis. And in fact, arthritis that was so bad that sometimes he would have to grab, his pants in order to lift up his leg, to get over something. Of course, he had that cough. He did not sleep well. So he knew, I've only got X amount of time left. And in the book, I point out that as a kid, a fortune teller told him that he would die around the time of his birthday.
Wow.
Before the age of 35.
Wow.
So if you see what Walt was doing after the age of 35, it's almost like he felt he was living on borrowed time.
Wow, I didn't know that.
It's like, I want to get these things established. You know, I want to show people that, yes, you can have a community, you know, that works. And he was fighting Roy right up until the last minute that you've got to build Epcot first, or it'll never get done. Roy's argument was, you've got to build the theme park first, because that will generate, you know, attendance, and it'll generate income, so then we can afford this community of tomorrow. Roy's son, told me that his father always just felt very sad that he won by default because Walt, you know, passed away. Because you all know the story that on the night before he passed away, he was in his bed, and his older brother Roy was there, and Walt was so excited, and he was talking about Epcot, and on his ceiling was this acoustical tile, which has all those little dots and all that. And so he'd go to Roy and he'd say, see that tile there? Go 2 tiles down and then one over to the left, and then that little dot over there, that's where we'll put the composting place, and then go up to this. And he planned all of that up there. And then at one point he goes, there, that's the spot. And Roy froze, because Roy had been, you know, trying to scribble notes and trying to pay attention. What is it that he missed? And Walt says, there, that's where we'll put a bench where Lily and I can sit and see all the happy people come in. And Roy left that night and phoned Lillian and said, Lily, I think he's going to make it. I've never seen him stronger and more passionate, you know, in his entire life. And then the next morning, 9:30 in the morning, passed away. The death certificate says cardiac arrest. All that means is the heart stopped. You know, it was the complications, you know, of the cancer. You know, he had been given anywhere from a couple of weeks to, you know, a couple of months, and it turned out to be barely 2 weeks. You know,
Jeez.
Yeah, what a loss. Because again, that maybe you can do a podcast about that. What if Walt had lived? What would Disney have looked like? What if Oswald had not been taken away from Walt Disney? So Mickey Mouse was never created. What would the world have looked like? What if Snow White had been a flop? It really was Disney's folly. What would have happened if Disneyland had flopped? How would the world have been different?
Maybe you can help us out with that podcast sometime.
We'll bring you on.
So you have some more questions for me, or
Jess,
Udi, do you want to go?
No, go for it.
Okay. Well, I have one, and I'm sure people have asked you this before, and I know it's kind of a tough question, but if you had the opportunity to sit down and actually talk to Walt, and you could ask him one question, what would you ask him?
Oh, that's a riveting question. You might actually win the book.
Boy, that's an excellent question. I have been asked that in the past, and you know, it's almost like, you know, if you could meet Jesus, or you could meet you know, God, what would you ask? And Walt, of course, didn't need anything to just talk about anything. So I would probably have just looked at him and said, why? Because that's broad enough that he would have just springboarded into all sorts of stuff.
Perfect.
With that. You know, this is a man who barely had 1 year of high school. And, you know, just was so articulate, just instinctively knew so much. You know, when we put a man on the moon, they talked to Wernher von Braun at NASA, and they said, you know, you're obviously a genius because you got America to the moon. You know, who is the smartest man you ever knew? And he said, well, Walt Disney. And they said, oh, yeah, the creator of Mickey Mouse, all that. He says, no. in the 50s, he worked with Walt on 3 of the Tomorrowland shows. And he said, Walt Disney asked me questions that people at NASA still haven't asked me to this day.
Wow.
And he said, Walt, because of, his limited educational background, forced me to have to explain things in clear terms. I couldn't, fall back on using, terminology and all of that. I had to, simplify it to the purest concept in order to get that across to him. He said he was the smartest man I ever met in my entire life.
I love that.
Wow.
So I do have
Aren't
one.
these stories great?
No, they're
and Disney is such a storytelling company,
Yeah.
and there's so many of these stories out there, and it's important for us to, grab hold of these because more and more we're having people who actually knew Walt no longer around.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no.
And if you want to say, well, Jim, you met all of these Imagineers and animators, do you have any regrets? And it's like, yeah, I wish I had known more so I knew to ask better questions than I did.
Right.
But I asked the best questions I could based on what I knew, and I tried to go on a fishing expedition to see if they would open up on some of these things. And sometimes they did, and sometimes I was lucky. And other times, we've got things. And does it make a difference to Disney fans out there to this day? I don't know. I don't know if... I think there's some Disney fans today who just aren't interested in Walt Disney.
Yeah, I
other
agree
than
with that.
he's an icon of the company there.
Yeah. Well, I think it's because a lot of people have, like you're saying, losing touch with the stories and not understanding the attention to detail and everything. And we talk about it all the time, how people walk through different things, walk through different attractions, and we try to do our best here to kind of keep that going. Like, look over here, look over there, understand what you're going through, understand the work, the attention to detail, everything that was thought out. Yeah, and don't go rushing around,
Yes, there were conscious choices that were made. It wasn't just a frivolous idea of, let's just put a little filigree over here.
Right.
When you're standing on Main Street, that is Main Street between 1890 and 1910. And Walt specifically picked that time period because before 1900, you have gas lighting and you have horses. After 1900, that's when electric lighting is coming in and you're having motorized vehicles. So if you're doing it before 1900, you're missing elements that people relate to the turn of the century. And if you have it after 1900, it's like, well, take a look at hitching posts on Main Street, right?
Yeah.
How many times have we passed those? How many times have you ever seen a horse hitched to the hitching post?
Right. Yeah.
I have never.
Never.
and I've been to Disneyland for decades, never. But if the hitching posts were not there, it would not be an authentic Main Street.
Yep.
True.
Very, very true.
And in fact, that is, those hitching posts are actually based on real hitching posts. Emile Coury, who designed, Walt's apartment, he also designed the theater for Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln. He designed the interior of the Nautilus for 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Anyway, he was a set director for a film studio, and they were filming a movie called The Heiress at a turn-of-the-century mansion. And because he took such good care of the mansion during the filming, the owner gave him the authentic antique hitching post out in front of the mansion.
Very cool.
Which Emile Coury kept at his Costa Mesa home until his death. But he used that hitching post as a mold to create the hitching posts at Disneyland and then later at Walt Disney World.
Amazing. Yeah.
So when you walk by that hitching post, it's like, horses are never hitched here.
Yeah.
And by golly, this is not some artist's idea of what a hitching post is. This is an actual hitching post from the turn of the last century here.
Amazing.
Amazing.
So now this is the heavy question that we ask. No, not really.
I was like, which
no, I'm
question
kidding.
is
I'm
that?
kidding. No, just because it can open up a big can of worms. You know where I'm going with this, Jess.
Okay.
Star Wars land.
Oh.
So that is a hot topic of debate among many people. Yay, nay, like, love, hate, whatever you want to do. So I'm curious where you stand on it. I know I'm happy to a level. There's certain things that I'm hesitant about, but overall I'm kind of happy because I know that once it's done and we're in there, we're going to be in there and they're going to do it right. But the impact of the park, how it's going to handle, how both parks will be able to handle it, and your general feelings, like should they have done it or not?
Are we talking Star Wars Land here?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, Star Wars Land.
Okay, and so I think, like most folks, I have mixed feelings, right? From a business standpoint, this makes wonderful sense. From, the fact that people want to be immersed in a Star Wars experience, and Disney is the premier person to create an immersive environment.
Yep.
This is good. On the other hand, I've been concerned of Disney pulling in all of these franchises. From a business standpoint, it makes wonderful sense. You know, having the Marvel franchise, all of it. Interestingly enough, the franchise that is closest to Disney, the Muppets, they don't seem to have any clue what to do with.
Yeah.
But anyway, Marvel, Star Wars, whatever. But what happens when you bring in those franchises, right? They have their own history. They have their own certain culture. Does that water down the Disney brand? There are things that happen in a Star Wars brand and things that happen in a Marvel brand that would never be allowed in a Disney brand. And yet you're bringing those in. And how committed are you? You know, because, okay, we've got Star Wars Land, but if you want to ride Star Tours, you've got to leave Star Wars Land and go over to Tomorrowland. Wait a minute. Shouldn't they? Well, no, it all becomes financial. It all comes down to money. A lot of decisions at Disney are just made on money. The other concern I have as a person who loves Disneyland is, yes, everybody and their mother is going to want to go to Star Wars Land. It's actually a very small imprint in terms of land. So how are you going to control capacity for that? And how does that now affect everything else? Does the entrance to Star Wars Land now spill out into Fantasyland and Frontierland? So you see these... people don't realize that when Star Tours first opened, for the first several weeks, the line was out the door and down all of Main Street, almost out to past where the kiosks were. And, things settled down, but that was just one attraction. And that, what's going to happen there? And so I have some concerns of how is Star Wars and how is Marvel affecting, the Disney brand? Is it diluting it? Is Disney diluting these other brands in subtle ways? And so philosophically, I have those. Let me pull out my grumpy old man cane and wave it in the air. Get those kids off my lawn. That music's too loud. I can't understand the lyrics. But from a business standpoint, yes, that makes perfect sense. Does it make sense to transform Tower of Terror into Guardians of the Galaxy? And then get rid of Bugs Land, the Bugs Land over there, and change it all into a Marvel Land there. From a business standpoint, absolutely. You know, there are people who are going to be waving money in the air here. But from a philosophical standpoint, it's like tossing a rock into a lake. You know, there are ripples. Other things get affected. What's going to be affected? You know, Disneyland is crowded enough as it is now, right?
Right.
On some days, even though they have capacity limits, you know, once we reach 60,000 people, we don't let anybody more in. Yeah, but look at all these people who drove from Iowa or whatever, and they're only here for 2 days, and you're not going to let them into the park?
Yeah.
But yeah, if we let them in, now it's a 2-hour wait to buy a hot dog. You know, how does that impact? You know.
Definitely.
Well, we'll have reservations. You can reserve purchasing a hot dog at 11:10, and if you miss your window of opportunity, then that's it. You go hungry until the next thing. Yeah. So with Star Wars Land, and again, Disney seems to have been very coy. They're still very, about what's actually going to be there. One of the things that, again, I'm an Orlando, Florida boy now, and Pandora out here is just incredibly small.
Oh.
And it has 2 attractions, and the wait is like 2 to 3 hours for each one. And the Navi River ride is shorter than Small World.
Wow.
You know, so you're waiting.
Wow.
3 hours for a 2-minute experience. Where does the sense of value now impact in? And it's wonderfully done. Wonderful attention to detail, and especially at night you see the bioluminescence and all of this, and you go, wow, okay, cool. But was it worth it? That investment of your time and your waiting and all of this. And even if they come up with, fast passes or, what they're doing for the Dumbo ride out here, which is giving you that little buzzer like you would get at a restaurant, so you can wander around. And then when it buzzes, you can come back and go on the ride.
Wow.
What do you do during the rest of that time, And as long as I got my grumpy old man cane here, one of the things that I dislike at Walt Disney World, and I saw it in October at Disneyland, is they're removing benches. They're removing seating. And I was told, because Disney always likes to put a spin on that, well, this just makes it, we've got so many people, we have to have clearer paths. I was told by somebody who really did know, yes, the benches they don't want you sitting there. They want you being in the stores or in the restaurant or on an attraction.
Yeah.
Walt's feeling was, I want a bench where I can sit there and watch. That's why outside the ice cream parlor where all the outdoor seating, that was so that people could sit and rest,
I love to sit
and just watch people, just like everybody says, oh yes, well, he went to Tivoli Gardens and he went to this place in Europe. Well, in Europe, one of the things that his wife saw that she kept mentioning to Walt was there were so many places where you could just sit, you could have a little cup of coffee, you could watch people go by. That was part of the experience,
Yeah.
Get those kids off my lawn. and again, Bob Iger never phones me up and asks me.
He should.
Gee, Jim, what would Walt have done?
Yeah,
well,
right.
Walt didn't want alcohol in the park. Walt didn't want alcohol in the park because it changes, people's behavior and attitude.
I think we're getting that.
And there's plenty of other places to get alcohol. You don't need to get it in the park.
No.
But Jim, alcohol, it sells so well. We make so much money, And Walt's feeling was everything works together. Eisner broke things up so that everything had to be a revenue-generating division. Walt's philosophy was, John Hench said, Walt, why do we have popcorn here, at 9 o'clock in the morning? Nobody's going to buy popcorn on Main Street. And Walt said, yes, but the smell makes you think of Main Street. It also puts you in a happy mood, and if you're in a happy mood, you'll go in the Emporium and you'll spend more money.
Yep.
It all works. It all works together.
That makes sense.
Eisner's philosophy was every division has to be revenue generating. So how do you become revenue generating if you're maintenance? If you're a janitor, well, you become revenue generating by getting rid of people, by instead of doing maintenance every single night, you do it every other night or once a week. And so on paper, look, there's more money here.
Sure.
Of course.
But after a while, it becomes, diminishing returns. My grandfather, after who I was named, Jimmy, ran a diner in Brooklyn. And my dad told me this story. It is that a salesman came in and was trying to convince him that if you put a drop of water in each ketchup bottle, then you have to buy fewer ketchup bottles. And my grandfather said, if I start putting in a drop of water, I'm going to be tempted to put in 2 drops of water, or 3 drops of water, or 4 drops of water. And he said, my customers won't notice immediately, but eventually it'll go, this just doesn't taste the same anymore. And so I wonder how much of that is happening at Disney, because how much money does Disney really need to make?
Yeah.
I asked someone out here because I really love the old Disneyana conventions. I felt they were very well run. I am not as excited about the D23 expos, where some people cannot get in to see, presentations there's a bunch of other things. That was never a problem at any of the Disneyana conventions. And so when they stopped, I asked the person out here, I said, are you just not making, a profit? Because I see, people buying, all of these limited edition $1,500 statues and things like that. And he says, no, we're making a profit. I said, but you're not making a healthy profit. He said, oh, no, we're making a healthy profit. We're just not making an obscene profit. And I said, what do you mean an obscene profit? And he said, well, we have determined that the same amount of labor and expense could be devoted to something like pins, and we would still make the same return. I said, but look at all the other things. People are coming out here. They're staying at the resorts. They're going into the park. They're spending money. He says, yes, but none of those can be charged off to the Disneyana convention. Those are charged off to the park, or those are charged off to food and beverage. So Disneyana conventions went away.
Oh, shoot.
And D23 came up to placate people like us who wanted something special, but not something where, the people in charge knew anything about those of us who, get excited about the fact that there's a new design on the napkin or something like that.
Right.
Actually, those they have a term for that. They call them Disney geeks, and they say it in a condescending way. So the people running this are not Disney fans, are not people who, for the most part. I know that there are exceptions.
Sure.
Are not Disney fans and understand why people who never worked at Disney are so excited about Disney.
Right.
I tell people, get a job at Disney for about 6 months. That'll take care of the pixie dust.
It changes
because you'll see that Disney is a business, just like any other business,
Yeah.
And I always tell people, I got laid off from Disney, and I have no hard feelings, because I tell people, you have to separate the Disney brand from the Disney business. The Disney brand is the characters. It's the way you feel when you're in the park. You know, it's discovering that new little piece of information. But the Disney business, you can have concerns about, you know, why are you making these decisions?
Oh, yeah.
Why did you decide that having Johnny Depp as Tonto in Lone Ranger was a good idea?
Sure. It was horrible. Don't even go me going.
And why did you decide, let's throw even more money at that?
Right.
You know? You know, I think it's a good idea to make a Lone Ranger movie. In fact, the person who owned Lone Ranger, Jack Rather, was the one who did the Disneyland Hotel, and he was a good friend of Walt's. And in fact, in the 50s, they had Clayton Moore dressed up as a Lone Ranger who would visit Disneyland, and he'd be on the Mark Twain and picture taking with kids and things like that. They also had Rather also owned Sergeant Preston of the Yukon with his dog Yukon King, which was big stuff in the 50s. So I think, yeah, gosh, Disney could really make a good Lone Ranger movie, but that wasn't it.
Yeah, no, that was not the case.
That really wasn't it. Yeah.
But Johnny Depp wanted to make that movie, and he wanted to be Tonto, and Disney wanted, you know, Johnny Depp for the Pirates movies, more Pirates movies. So you do that. You know, Pandora was made not because, oh, what a great idea for Animal Kingdom, you know, having an alien landscape. It's like, we want to get in bed with James Cameron.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
We want to establish a relationship with James Cameron because he's made some of the most successful movies of all time. And so, you know, if we give him a little Pandora, we are his best friend.
Yeah, that's accurate.
That's accurate. Hey guys, we're going to take a break right now. That's the end of part 1. Thank you so much for listening. Part 2 will be out very, very soon, and we'll do the wrap up after episode 2.
See, I wasn't lying, man. I told you. I wouldn't lie to you guys. Energy.
Yeah.
High energy.
Yes.
You need to be
Very.
inspired by that.
Aren't you guys having fun?
I'm having a blast.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you guys got to wait maybe 2 or 3 days before episode part 2 comes out or whatever we're going to call it. All right. Talk to you guys later.